Yo, in this video I'll be showing you guys the best teams to use Xilonen in. She has a lot of broad teams, but I'm just going to be telling you guys teams that are going to be like the best teams where she fits in the best, and give you tips in general where you'd want to make sure you're using her in the right place. Alright, so before we start with that though, I'm going to explain how she works, what she gives you, and the few things she needs so you make sure she's working like perfectly fine. So first of all, what is she going to give you? It's going to be a resistance shred. She can give you resistance shred to a lot of elements, but you need a few things to make sure it works. How Xilonen gives you resistance shred is that first of all, you need to have the element on your team. For example, if you have a pyro element, when you activate like her thingies, she's going to give you resistance shred to pyro because you have one pyro character on your team. But the problem lies in on how you need to activate the thingies. The only way to activate them is going to be throughout having maximum night soul points, which is 90. And the only other source where you can gain more night soul points is going to be throughout your passive. For your passive to work, you need to switch the element of at least 2 shards of Xilonen. That means you need to have at least 2 different elements than Gia on your team. That way when you use normal attacks, you're going to be getting night soul points, and then you're going to max out and you're going to activate your shards. But if you only have like one pyro or cryo or whatever on your team, you're not going to be getting night soul points, and it's going to be very hard to activate the shards. Only the Gia ones are going to be activated, but the other elements are not going to be. So the first thing you need in the Xilonen team in general, if your main DPS or the resistance shred you need is not Geo, you need to have at least 2 pyro, cryo, hydro, or electro characters on your team, because you need the passive active for you to activate the resistance shred. The second thing she can give you is going to be she heals you. She's a healer. She doesn't even really need that much to activate that, so it's pretty much just going to be active always. And then the third thing is that she's going to be able to use the Natlan artifact set, the scroll of the hero of Cinder City. It's just going to give you damage bonus and give her some energy, which is pretty good. You definitely want to make sure to use this set because it's one of her key support points. It's going to give you like 40% damage bonus to all of your team, which is super good. Just from Natlan, she has the Night Soul stage, so she's going to be able to activate this set without any problems. But yeah, looking at that, it's pretty much she doesn't really need that much to be fully active. The only thing you need is 2 characters that are different elements than Gia on your team, either Hydro, Pyro, Electro, or Cryo, for you to make sure you activate them. And if you're playing a Mono Gia team that I'm going to talk about in a bit, you don't even need that. Other than that, everything is just going to be activated fully, so she's going to be very flexible in a lot of teams. She's just a character that can heal you, heal the active character on the field, give you resistance shred and damage bonus. Just perfect support capabilities. But yeah, now knowing that, let's move on to her teams. Alright, so since we've seen that she's a very good support, she's going to work best with main DPSs that need those things. Which is honestly most main DPSs, and especially with like strong main DPSs where they need just like a specific hyper carry team. That's where Xilonen is going to shine the best. She's going to be able to provide very specific buffs to like very specific elements with like the resistance shreds and stuff like that. And if you have a character that takes good advantage out of these buffs, she's going to work pretty well with them. Team examples for that, we have Molani. She is one of the latest characters we had. And she's going to be a super good main DPS, and she's going to appreciate all of the buffs that are going to come to her. So for Molani team, you can just use Molani and then like Xiangling, say Zhongli, and then Xilonen. In that team, you have Molani as a Hydro and then Xiangling as a Pyro. So you're going to be able to activate Xialonen's passive easily. Zhongli is going to be a shielder just for the resistance interruption for Molani. And he's also going to be giving you energy and Geo Resonance with Xilonen. And then Xilonen is going to be giving you a lot of buffs. As I said before, she's going to be healing you. She's going to be providing you damage bonus, and she's also going to be providing you the resistance interruption. Going back to Zhongli, he's probably going to be one of her best teammates in general because, as I said, it's going to be just helping her with like the energy and the Geo Resonance, so it's going to be pretty good. But if you have especially C1 Xilonen, which gives you like resistance interruption, you can replace Zhongli with someone like Kazuha, for example, for even more just support for Milani. He can give you more damage bonus, but at C0, it's not really going to be possible. You can also put in like Fiorina, for example. Xilonen is also going to be a very good fit with Fiorina. So she's going to be able to heal the character on field, but Fiorina is going to be able to heal the rest of your team, which is going to be pretty good. And you're going to be able to activate all of Fiorina's buffs, and her healing is going to be enough to counter Fiorina's HP drain. So yeah, she works pretty good with Fiorina, and Fiorina is going to give you much more damage bonus. So yeah, if you're able to fit her with Fiorina, that's going to be pretty good. Like you can have a full hyper carry team for Milani with like Milani, Xiaolin, Fiorina, and Xiangling, or Milani, Fiorina, Xiaolin, Zhongli, or whatever. She also technically works a little better with Natlan characters because her passive is going to give her more defense if she's with an Natlan character, but it's not really necessary at all, so I didn't even mention it. It's not really something you want to take into account. She works good enough with the characters even outside of Natlan. But yeah, this is like the main idea I'd want to use Xilonen in. She works best with like hyper carry main DPSs that just need a buffer. Another example is going to be like, say, another good DPS, Nuviet. You can have her in the Nuviet team, for example, like Nuviet, Fiorina, then like Xilonen and Kazuha. Just like a complete hyper carry team for Nuviet. He's just going to be the DPS and everyone is just going to be buffing him there. You can use her with, let's say, Hu Tao, just as like a support again, for example, like Hu Tao, Xingqiu, and then let's say Zhongli for the resistance shred, and then let's say Kazuha, just again a hyper carry team for Hu Tao and Xingqiu. If you ever see one again, you can just get rid of the shielder, so you can focus more on buffing Hu Tao and use like Kazuha, for example, instead of a shielder. You have Xilonen for the resistance interruption, and then Kazuha as a support, and then Xingqiu and Hu Tao just as a vaporized duo. You can also use her in full Geo teams, by the way, if you want to commit into that. She doesn't need to be used in like double element teams unless your main DPS is a different element than Geo. But if your main DPS is a Geo character, for example, let's say Ito or Navia or whatever, you don't really need to use two other elements because your Geo shards are just going to be active without you needing ISO points. So she can be used with Geo main DPSs more freely. For example, say like an Ito team, you can just use her instead of, say, I don't know, Goru. So you can use like Ito, Albedo, then Xilonen, then Zhongli, just full Geo team. You can use her in like a Navia team, just like as a second Geo for Navia. Let's say Navia, Xilonen, and then Xiangling and Bennett. Anything like that is going to work pretty well. But yeah, again, just like for hyper carry main DPSs, she's going to work the best, but it's not really a necessary thing. You can use her in like teams where the damage is spread. She's going to be able to buff your full team mainly with the artifact set and also give you resistance shred as long as the other characters are either Hydro, Cryo, Electro, or Pyro. So you can use her in teams where the damage is spread a little bit. For example, like the national team, free-to-play team, you can just use Xiangling, Bennett, and Xingqiu and then Xilonen with them. The resistance shred is going to do you wonders there, and it's going to be easier to trigger than Kazuha's resistance shred. You don't need to swirl or anything like this. You might be losing on like crowd control and stuff like that, but she gives you other benefits. So yeah, those are really going to be her best teams, but mainly she can be used anywhere. Another thing is going to be about her C2. It's not really going to change the way how you'd want to play her, but to make sure you're not wasting her C2 is going to give you extra damage bonus or extra like perks depending on the element of the character you have on your teams. Those are going to be like the extra buffs. If your character is Geo, she's going to give them damage bonus. If your character is Pyro, she's going to give them a lot of attack. If they're Hydro, she's going to give them a lot of HP. Cryo, she's going to give them crit damage. Electro, she's going to give them energy and also decrease the cooldown of their elemental burst. Those are going to be like the main buffs for these elements in general. Most Hydro characters are going to scale with HP, so it's going to be pretty good, but you just want to make sure you avoid characters that are like unusual scaling types. For example, if your character is Pyro, but they scale with HP, then using Xilonen here as C2 is going to be kind of a waste because she's going to be giving them an attack buff and they don't need attack. An example of that is going to be like Hu Tao. C2 Xilonen is going to be kind of a waste on like a Hu Tao team because she's going to be giving Hu Tao attack and Hu Tao doesn't scale with attack. So it's going to be better to use her like an Arlecchino team, for example, because she's going to be giving her a huge amount of attack and Arlecchino is going to be able to take full advantage out of that because she's Pyro and she scales with attack. Another example is going to be like Child, for example. He scales with attack by his Hydro. Xilonen is going to be giving him HP buffs and he doesn't really need them for damage, so she's going to be kind of a waste. So if you have her C2, you just want to make sure her main DPS scales with what she gives you because they're going to be like super huge buffs and you don't want to waste them. You can still use her, by the way, in those teams like with Hu Tao or Child or whatever, but your buffs are definitely going to be wasted. So yeah, just make sure you're using her with a character that corresponds with which buffs she gives them. For example, with a C2 Xilonen, it's going to be good to use her as for an Arlecchino team. So you have like Arlecchino, say Yellen, then Xilonen, and then Zhongli. That's going to be a super good team. She's going to be given resistance shred, damage bonus to Arlecchino, and then also 45% attack, which is going to be super good. But yeah, tell me what teams are going to be using for her in the comments. That was the video, guys. Don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to the channel. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.